Philippines, next part. This is the Commonwealth era. In late 1935, the actual Commonwealth began. By 1936, we begin to see the Commonwealth status of the Philippines reflected in its coinage. With the one exception of the 1936 Centavo, which is we saw before, but we'll look at it again. Still has the old design, but that is the last time we would see that. For it's being introduced for the first time, a new look for the reverse, which we will see shortly. Now here we have the 50 centavos, and we have General Murphy facing Manuel Quezon as one leader of the Philippines succeeding in transferring authority to the other. So it says Commonwealth of the Philippines, 50 centavos. And the back, this of course is what is new. It has the eagle on top that reminds us of the American territory that we had, and in some ways kind of still do, but not so much. And below that we have the castle and the rampant lion of the Spanish era, also kind of commemorated. But we also have the 3 stars with 3 parts of the Philippines. And on the ribbon, you can read some parts of it. It says Commonwealth of the Philippines. You can also see it's 1936. There's a letter M, United States of America. It is still part of the United States of America, but now as part of the Commonwealth, it is almost a nation in its own right, a very major step in the direction of full independence. As such, it's like an independent nation, but with the training wheels on. So, along with that, to continue that commemoration theme, we have President Roosevelt then, who was president, and Manuel Quezon side by side. It's kind of a rare instance of a living president being on a coin, so that is something unusual, but Roosevelt never considered himself bound by the usual rules. And here's the reverse. Now you can probably see the whole thing really well. Commonwealth of the Philippines. Look at that. Every letter of every word in there is actually readable. 1936, M for Manila Mint. Because this and the other companion peso are the only ordinary pesos struck at the Manila Mint. As you can see, this is very similar, only instead we have now the 2 people who've reigned in the Philippines, General Murphy, who led the Philippines in a presidential role during the Territorial years and who is now handing it off to now elected President Manuel Quezon, who is the Filipino, who will be the new president of the Commonwealth state. The reverse, of course, is exactly the same, and once again, you could make out every letter, I think. And you can also see the M of Manila there. Okay. Well, next year, that reverse design becomes now official for all of the coins. So here we see now the new 1 centavo of 1937. And there's the same reverse. Let's see if I can bring out the M, kind of. Okay. The 5 cent is the same. And the 10 cent is the same. And the 20 cent is also the same. Okay. 1938, this continues. You notice they're only making the smaller denominations. Apparently there was not felt to be any need. This seems to be a particularly nice specimen. Once again, you could probably make out every letter, or at least almost every letter, of Commonwealth of the Philippines on the ribbon. So this seems to be a particularly good striking. Okay. There's the 5 cent. Ooh, that looks pristine. Not such a great strike, though. And the 10 cent. Apparently they didn't think they needed any 50 cent, and obviously no pesos. So in this new era, the peso denomination exists as a commemorative, and that will continue up through 1970, when every peso, during which every peso generated is a commemorative. Just as here's 1939. Only the centavo was made that year. As you can see, it's beautifully preserved, but unfortunately, a rather weak die striking. Here's a 1940. In a little bit better shape, but as you can see, there's only a few letters of the ribbon can be made out. Now, 1941. At the end of that year, the Japanese would attack and plunge the Philippines in a big war. And actually, I suspect there's not a whole lot of Philippine coins that will escape and survive in any high grade. So, even though the mintages are common enough, 1941s do seem, at least subjectively, a little harder to find than some of the earlier years. So, for some reason, they decided to once again do all the lower denominations, and not just the cent. So, of course, the Japanese invaded, and for a couple of years, things kind of went dark in the Philippines. But finally, in 1944, we're coming back in. General MacArthur is leading the charge, and we bring also all of our coins. Once again, this is a particularly nicely struck 1944. If you look carefully, you could probably again make out every letter of the phrase Commonwealth of the Philippines on that ribbon. Beautiful strike. Only a few carbon spots slightly bring down from what was otherwise could have been an awesome coin. All right, 1944 S. Okay, San Francisco made these. Actually, they took it over from, I just kind of jammed this somewhere else here, the Philadelphia Mint. And see, there's no mint mark at all. Philadelphia joined in for the first time since 1908 in making of Philippine coins. All right, 1944 D. Denver Mint gets involved for the first time. And makes the dime and the 20-cent piece. Okay, while San Francisco is doing the 5-cent and the 50-cent. Okay, 1945. This continues. Now, these years on the coin don't exactly coincide with when the coins were made. So, some of these coins dated 1945 are actually dated 1946. Some of the ones dated 1944 are actually dated 1945. That even includes the 1 cent. And Alts & Barton, the original, is to be commended for so diligently tracking down the actual numbers of these coins minted each year and figuring out how many would have been dated one year versus dated another, so that it actually has one of the few places that has the correct mintage figures. Well, of course, as we know, in 1946, some of these 1945s would continue to be minted, all saying 1945, but in mid-1946, the Philippines becomes their own nation. Once that happens, any further coinage struck for the Philippines now is under the same legislation as all the other coins struck for all the other countries. Up until this point, we struck it for them as our territory and as our Commonwealth. But the Commonwealth that began in 1935 ends in 1946. After that, they're their own independent nation. We took the training wheels off. And so, that finishes out that period. The other thing to note is that 1941 was the last year the Manila Mint would be in operation. It was destroyed during the war. So the need to make the duty of making these coins again reverted back to the states, and in fact we will see that that continues even as the Philippines is its own independent nation. That's it.